Hello, and this is Katie Corbett, and you are listening to the Health, Wellness, and Chocolate podcast. I wanted to talk to you today about this idea of like the morning after. So right now when I'm recording this, it's July 5th. And so yesterday was a huge barbecue and eating day in the United States. And I know a lot of times, especially if we have health goals, but we get put in a situation where there's an opportunity to try new foods, or there's a lot of foods available, and maybe we've been watching what we're eating, but all of a sudden, we see something and it's like, oh, let's just have it. Why not? It's just, it's a special occasion, or we make a lot of excuses for it. We tend to think then in black and white terms, like, well, I screwed up. That's it. I'll just eat through Labor Day. And, I'll worry about, losing weight in the fall. I'm just going to enjoy the summer for what it is. And so what I wanted to do today was just kind of frame that differently and help you think of, whatever happened yesterday is over. And an afternoon of overindulging, even if you happen to do that, is not going to really undo a whole lot of the healthy behaviors that you have set up for yourself. So rather than think in these black and white terms like, well, I had everything on that buffet line. There's no way I'm, gonna not lose weight this week. I might as well just keep eating. Technically today is still the holiday, so let's have the leftovers now, right? Like, I just want to have you keep in mind the health and wellness goals that you set out for yourself, and give yourself some grace. Like, yeah, okay, you enjoyed the barbecue, and maybe you're learning a new way to relate to food where, when you're at a barbecue, you're not obsessed about the food, or that's not the only thing that you're focused on. But that is a skill. And so maybe you're learning it. But I wanted to give you a tool today that I thought you might find helpful. And it's this idea. I didn't come up with the concept, but I really like it. And I think you'll find it helpful. And the idea is kind of this floors and ceilings. Like, you have like a minimum as far as your health goals go of what you want to accomplish every day, every week, and every month, right? It's like the bare minimum. And then you have the ideals of what you want to accomplish as far as your health and wellness goes. And I mean, you could take this and apply it to any area of your life. It does not just have to be related to health and wellness. But I thought you could maybe take this week and consider the different areas of your lives and establish for yourselves these minimum baselines or these floors that you'll have and you'll do every day no matter what, right? They're kind of like your no matter what rules that you have for yourself. And they're minimum. Okay, so this is not like constantly setting yourself up for failure, right? Like, these are like, no matter what, I'm going to drink this amount of water every day. My ideal is, like, for example, I'm going to drink 100 ounces of water a day, but no matter what, I'm going to make sure I at least get 50. Okay, so those are the ideas. Like, some coaches call it floors and ceilings. Some people call it minimum baselines. It's kind of like, no matter what, I'm going to do this on the bottom, but I'm going to aim for this at the top. Okay, and we'll fall somewhere in between. And the whole point is to kind of help you get rid of this all or nothing thinking, because a lot of times, especially as yo-yo dieters, we're like, oh, well, I didn't eat perfect yesterday, might as well keep eating till Labor Day. Or, oh, well, I didn't eat perfect. Now today we'll just continue with the ice cream and we're going to have all the leftovers. And I feel disgusting and bloated, but that's just too bad because I already screwed up, right? Like, we're going to have to stop telling ourselves that and start being kinder and more compassionate and be like, you know what? Yes, I ate a lot of food at that barbecue. I overindulged. Maybe I felt a little sick, but it's over. I can't change it. I'll try to do better next time. But at least today, I'm going to do my minimum baseline. I'm going to make sure I drink enough water. I'm going to make sure I get 2 fruits and vegetables in today. I'm going to make sure I at least get my 10 minutes of walking in, or whatever it is for you, whatever these baselines are set up for you, so that when a bump in the road comes, and my friend, bumps in the road will come. That's life. You don't beat yourself up over it. You're just like, well, that was a bump in the road, but I'm going to keep moving forward and at least do my minimum baselines. Even if I don't feel like it, I at least know I have planned to always have, this minimum in my life so that I can always make sure I keep my health in mind, right? And that's the whole point. So approach yourself with some grace as far as like, yeah, you know what? I had that, fill in the blank with whatever food at that barbecue yesterday, and I am so glad I did. And I'm not going to have any guilt about it because it was totally worth it. And then let it go. Don't spend hours ruminating on it and thinking like, oh, I screwed up. And because really it takes a lot more than just an afternoon barbecue to really derail your health efforts, unless you make it that way. Sometimes when it's the holiday season, it's like, well, I overindulged at Thanksgiving. I might as well just, we got holiday parties coming up or whatever. I might as well just be all in until New Year's Day, and then I'll deal with it, right? And then New Year's Day comes and you gain 10 pounds or 5 pounds or whatever, and now you're really mad at yourself. Like, you don't have to do that. You can just kind of like, okay, you know what? Yesterday was a fun day and there was a lot of good food and I enjoyed it, but today is a new day and I'm going to make sure I hit my minimum baseline goals, and that's it. Okay, so here's some things I want you to consider. Take time this week or right now if you have a chance while you're listening to this or watching it on YouTube, your floors and ceilings. So what would that look like in your life, right? What I usually have you do is I think of your ideals. What would an ideal day look like for you where you're hitting the goals that you want to hit? And you write that down. And then what I want you to do is think, okay, what is the bare minimum I would need to accomplish in order to still feel pretty good that I'm moving forward in my health and wellness goals, but I know at least I can do it. So here's an example. Let's say, I love to, in the morning when I wake up, by like 7:30, maybe even as late as 8 a.m., depending on the time my kids wake up and stuff, I love to be able to exercise. And either it's weight training or doing Pilates. Those are my two favorite things. I like them. I feel strong after doing them. Like, I personally don't like the workouts where you are jumping around and like boot camp and cardio, stuff like that is not my jam at all. But I do like Pilates. I like the rhythm of it and the stretching and the toning, and I like weight training. I really enjoy lifting the weights. I find that fun. So for me, that's what works for me. But find something you like to do, right? So for my ideal, it would be 5 or 6 days a week at like 7:30 in the morning. I'm either doing a Pilates workout or I'm using my weights and weight training. Okay, so that would be my ceiling, like 5 to 6 days a week. That's what I'm doing. Now, I also go out in the afternoon with my kids around 4, and I always try to get out there no matter what the weather. I mean, obviously, if it's a snowstorm or rainy, I might get derailed a little bit, but even in the winter, even if it's only for a few minutes before I freeze, I live in the Northeast PA, so sometimes it gets pretty cold, but no matter what, I try to get outside at least for a little while and walk. So maybe my minimum baseline is 10 to 15 to 20 minutes of walking every day, no matter what, right? So even in the dead of winter, I could still do 10 minutes, right? So like my minimum baseline would be 10 minutes or 15 minutes of walking outside in the afternoon, okay? But my ideal is my workout in the morning and then, my hour-long walk in the afternoon, okay? Those are my ideals. Those are my ceilings, okay? But my floor is that 10 to 15-minute walk, no matter what. So at least I'm doing that, okay? So it's not this black and white, like, well, I can't work out this morning because, like, so, for example, tomorrow, but I got dentist appointments for 4 of my kids at 9 a.m. I'm not going to have time. Well, I could have time to work out in the morning, but I always shower at night and I have other things to do in the morning before we get ready for the dentist. So I don't want to go there smelly. That's basically why I don't want to work out in the morning before that. But I know that. And so rather than thinking in this black and white term, like, well, I didn't get to work out today. Oh, well, I could be like, well, that's okay. I still can do my minimum baseline, or I could still at least walk in the afternoon or do a video when I get home, like whatever. But, I know what my ideal is or what my ceiling is, but then I also know no matter what, I still have my minimum baseline in place or my floor in place where I know I'll still walk in the afternoon no matter what. Okay, so you can apply this concept. So that was an example for movement. So you can do this with eating too. A ceiling for your eating might be, okay, I'm going to have this many fruits or vegetables. I'm going to make sure I have this many unrefined grains or whole grains. I'm going to make sure I have this many grams of fat or whatever you're doing as far as healthy eating goes. I'm going to, you think of your ideal day as a healthy eating day. And that's your ideals. Now think about what a minimum would be. So a minimum might be, okay, I'm going to drink this much water, and I'm going to make sure I have at least 2 servings of vegetables and at least 2 servings of fruit and a salad every day, no matter what, right? And then, so like that is your minimum. So no matter what comes along, even if your day goes sideways, you know it's not going to be that hard to at least grab a salad or grab some fruits and at least drink your water. Right? No matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, that's very simple to implement for you. Okay. So you make this personal for you. Obviously, I'm just trying to give you examples to get you thinking. Maybe if there's a new skill that you want to learn, right? Like maybe the ceiling would be spending an hour on it every day, but maybe your minimum baseline would be at least moving and doing something for 10 minutes, reading about learning the new thing or trying something out or writing it down or applying what you learned. That could be your minimum for that. Okay. And it's always just moving that needle forward. So how about sleeping? Do you have a ceiling that, okay, I want to get 8 hours of sleep every night. That's my ideal. So what's a minimum baseline would be maybe 6.5, 7 hours. Okay. So at least every night, I know I'm going to get this amount. Like I wouldn't recommend anything less than 7. There's so many studies out there that show, how beneficial sleep is, especially when it comes to weight loss and hormone regulation and blood sugar and insulin regulation. And, it just gives your body a chance to repair itself. It really is great for your health and wellness to get a really decent night's sleep and to have it's called good sleep hygiene. And so that is something, when you think of your ideal, an ideal would be 8 hours of sleep a night. So maybe your minimum baseline then would be 6.5 to 7 hours of sleep a night. And then we talked about exercise. And then also you can apply this into other areas too. So maybe you have a minimum baseline and a ceiling for, your cleaning routine in your house or your laundry in your house or how many times you're going to cook dinner every week. You can kind of think of all the aspects in your life where you can apply this. And that way you kind of with the minimum baselines in place, you kind of at least have your act loosely together and you can reduce the hot mess, that always feeling like you're reacting to the urgency because, and I've said this before, when you're always reacting to urgency, it will drain your emotional reserves that you have. And if you're an emotional eater and you're kind of feeling depleted, you're going to turn to food. So you're really kind of sabotaging yourself. So this is a tool that you can use to really kind of set yourself up and make sure you're hitting some goals that you have set for yourself, but it's not so burdensome that you won't be able to hit them even if life goes crazy, because life will go crazy. And you don't need to use that as an excuse not to hit at least the minimum for your health and wellness. So you're always moving forward. Sometimes you're moving forward at a sprint. And sometimes you're going to move forward at a snail's pace, but at least you're always moving forward, right? So try to think of as many different angles as you can approach this idea and set up as many minimum baselines and ceilings as you possibly can, right? So the ceilings are these ideals that you have that are realistic, right? Like maybe there are realistic ideals, but you might not always be able to hit them, but you do have these minimum or these floors or these baselines that is no matter what, I know I can at least be able to get that. So relationships, right? So if you have children, I know I'm going to spend this amount of time every day spending time with them. Or this many hours a week, I want to be able to do one-on-one time with my kids, or have a special night, 2 nights a week where we play games or we connect device free or something no screen time for this amount of time every week, right? Maybe those are your ceilings, those are your ideals. And then your minimum would be, during dinner, everybody is unplugged. And we play a family game night on Sundays because I know everybody's home. All right. So those could be your minimum baselines. So that would be for your relationships. For budgeting, you might have a minimum baseline of, let's see, you have the bills paid as soon as they come in, right? Maybe that's your minimum baseline, or maybe that's not minimum. Maybe it's by this day of the month, all the bills have been sent out, right? Maybe your ideal is as the bills come in, I pay them no matter what. right? Like, so maybe that is your ideal. Or maybe it's, I'm going to balance the checkbook every month is your ideal. And your minimum baseline is like, I'm just going to pay the bills. Like whatever works for you as far as budgeting goes. Let's see, serving others, right? Like, is there a minimum amount? Like, okay, I really want to connect and make some friends, so I'm going to volunteer. And my minimum baseline is I'll volunteer one day, one morning a month at, think of a charity of your choice that you feel led to volunteer at. Maybe you can do more. Maybe there's an ideal like, I really want to be involved in this charity or this thing. And I'm going to make that an ideal. But maybe the minimum baseline is like one morning a month, I'm going to go help out there. Okay. So there's so many options you have for this, but rather than always reacting to the urgency. So for me, like my minimum baseline as far as laundry goes is I usually do at least one load of laundry a day. Sometimes I do 2, and then usually I wind up folding them a couple times a week. Like the clean laundry kind of sits there. I'm a clean messy. It's like, I think how I was described. But like I kind of I stack up all the clean laundry, and then I do it all at once rather than, because we always usually have to have more than, there's 10 of us here. So like I always have to do more than 1 load a day. But maybe a minimum baseline for me is at least 1 load a day. And then a ceiling would be, 2 loads a day for me. So that would be my own personal minimum baseline is 2 loads a day, 1 load a day, no matter what. And then, my ceiling is 2 loads a day. And then, Saturday, the curtains or the sheets and like all that other stuff gets washed, right? That would be it. You could do it too with like, if say your minimum baseline with cleaning your house is your minimum baseline is like at the end of the day, the countertops get wiped down and the floors get swept. And the dishes go in the dishwasher, right? Like no matter what, that has to get done. Okay. That just resets the house and like the toys get picked up. Right. And then maybe your ideal is, a couple times, this many times a week we mop, this many times a week we vacuum, this many times a week we wipe the toilets down. Now I have a lot of kids, so we have to do the mopping and the vacuuming and like the toilet cleaning and stuff like that way more than 1 time a week. So, but I would say my minimum for that would be like deep clean on Saturdays. On Saturday mornings is a deep clean day, right? Like that's our minimum baseline. We can't get away with doing any less than that. But our ceiling is, 3 times a week we mop and vacuum. Twice a week we dust. 3 times a week we wipe down the toilets and the floors. Like I have 5 boys, so it's like a frat house here. I got to keep on top of those toilets, to keep out the public bathroom smell. Otherwise, things get bad really quick here. But so like my minimum baselines and my floors and my ceilings are going to look totally different than yours. But I wanted to give you some examples so that you can take it and run with it and apply it into your own life. And the whole point of doing this is, like I said, so you can, no matter what happens, life will have hiccups and bumps in the roads, but no matter what happens, you always have like these stopgaps in place that no matter what happens, you're always at least moving forward, even if it's a snail's pace for whatever season you're in until, you're able to make bigger strides. And you have those goals set up too, but you also have some realistic or some minimum goals in place as well. So take time this week, think about, okay, maybe it's, reading, maybe you want to have a minimum amount of time every day you want to read so you can grow mentally. So maybe it's, okay, my minimum baseline is I'm going to read 30 minutes every day. My ceiling is I'm going to read a book a week. Okay. So like you can challenge yourself and set that up, but like, and I might not be able to hit a book a week. Maybe if I make time and some extra time in there and create some more space to read, but I know at least 30 minutes a day, hey, that'll add up over time. And I could totally do 30 minutes before I go to bed or however. So think about some things maybe you have been wanting to do, but maybe you haven't had time to do. And you can think like, okay, what would be an ideal for me? And what could a minimum baseline be? So I know I might not be able to hit the ideal all the time, but I know I could hit like a minimum baseline. And it could be learning a new skill. It could be working on a relationship. It could be handling your finances. Maybe an ideal, here's an example. Maybe you've been stressed over having, maybe money is very stressful for you. Maybe you feel like very out of control, either with spending, or you feel like you don't know where your money goes, or budgeting is very difficult. So maybe an ideal for you is, a ceiling is like, I'm going to get on a budget. I'm going to work on maybe like calling the insurance company to get my rates reduced, or I'm going to work on finding lower insurance for my house, or finding better car insurance rates. And you know what I mean? Like, they kind of have you when you get on a budget. I remembered with Dave Ramsey, like calling different providers and trying to get like better rates on certain things. And a friend of mine did it. And so when she was going through Dave Ramsey's program, and they saved like over $400 a month just by changing providers for different things, like maybe they got rid of cable, then they changed their provider for their insurance, for their car insurance, and then their homeowner's insurance, and maybe a couple other things they wound up tweaking and changing, and they wound up saving right away like $400 a month in their budget just by doing those little tweaks, right? So maybe if money feels like very stressful for you, maybe your ceiling is going to be to get on a budget, or find a program that is going to help you. And then maybe your minimum baseline is you do, you read a page or two in the class that you found, or the book you found about budgeting. And, every day you do a little bit more. So at least you're moving forward, even if you can't complete it all at once, right? Or you're learning how to budget, or you're at least stopping excessive spending, or something. Like the minimum baseline could be, you stop online shopping for a while till you get control of your finances, or something like that, right? Like, so you can really use this in so many different areas of your life, but it's really, the root of it is really bringing awareness to your behavior and giving yourself a sense of power and control over the choices that you're making, so you don't feel like you're constantly on autopilot and constantly just reacting to urgency, but you're actually taking agency in your life, and you're saying, you know what? I know I don't have to eat out of control when something stressful comes up. I know I can at least have my minimum baseline food that I've told myself that I'll at least have this much water, this many fruits, this many vegetables, and this many whole grains, and this much protein. No matter what, I can do that, right? And so, like, that's how you want to think of this. Like, and this will build that self-efficacy of being able to say, like, I can keep my word to myself, because that minimum baseline is not hard to do. And I have told myself that I would do it. And so even these little tiny baby steps of keeping your word to yourself will help you grow confident in your ability to make bigger changes in your life. And it will build over time. So go ahead and brainstorm this week on what you can do to move the needle forward with your minimum baselines and your floors and your ceilings, depending on which coach you talk to or listen to. It's kind of a tool used in the coaching industry. But yeah, see how many different ways in your life you can apply it, and think like, okay, you know what? I might not be able to, let me think of something else. I don't know, like the dishwasher? I don't know. I have a minimum baseline for my like, I always do the dishes every morning. Like I before I go to bed, I always load the dishwasher. So when I go up to bed, there are no dirty dishes, because I hate coming downstairs to dirty dishes. However, I go to bed at 9:30. So, oh, sorry about that. I go to bed at 9:30. So that phone call totally threw me off. Give me 1 second. So if I go to bed at 9:30 and I come back down in the morning, I'm the first one up, there's dishes and everything all on the counters and in the sink. And now I have to load the dishwasher back up. So I usually do that. I put my tea on to boil, and while the tea is boiling, I'll go around and pick up all the dishes and put them in the dishwasher, and then I start it. So for me, that would be a minimum baseline, right? It's like every morning, no matter what, gather up whatever dirty dishes were used during the night by who knows who, and put them in my dishwasher and run the dishwasher while I am getting my tea ready to drink in the morning, right? So think about ways you can kind of put in some minimum baselines, but first hit the ideals. Like, what are your ideals? What do they look like? And kind of have some ideas of what they could be, and what you could like reasonably accomplish, or some goals that you want to hit. And then what would a minimum baseline look like for that for you? And you can start moving forward from there. All right. So I hope you found this helpful. Again, if you had a good 4th of July, just enjoy the time you had. Try not to ruminate on it and beat yourself up for if you overindulged. I hope it was delicious. I hope you loved it. And now just let's start moving forward. Pick some minimum baselines for your health and start doing them. And then you can grow from there. All right. Have a great week. And if you want to learn more, head over to the Health and Wellness Blueprint. I have it for only $1, and you can join it and try it out for 7 days and see if you like it. And when you do join, but with the $1, I offer an amazing discount. And then you have lifetime access to it. So I never want you to feel rushed or that you have to go through it, but it's kind of like the Netflix of weight loss. There's so many videos in there and so many tools like this one that you can take and apply and start building confidence in yourself so that you can reduce feeling powerless or responding to the urgency of life and really depleting yourself emotionally. We work on a lot of mental stuff in there where I give you a lot of tools to help you take more control over your life, so you're not just reacting and then using food to feel better. And you kind of start to create a life that you love, and it ripples into every area. All right, so I'd love to see you in there. It's only $1 and you could get started. So for me, it's like a no-brainer. Anyway, have an awesome week, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.